It's now possible to know more about and spend more time with people that live on the other side of the world to us than people on our street. The first time I heard about parasocial relationships was when I was listening to a podcast on modern wisdom by Chris Williamson. And he discussed the fact that in modern society, we spend so much time consuming content from other people through social media or through the telly or through Netflix even, that we build relationships with people that don't even know we exist. Actors, celebrities, influencers, we see their stuff every single day. We spend so much time of our day on our phones watching other people. And when you look at the relationship in the other direction, we're a views count or a number in the like counter. Or there might be an occasional reply to a comment. But generally speaking, the person on the other end doesn't necessarily know that we exist. That's the essence of parasocial relationships, is that it's a one-sided interaction. Think of reading a book. If you read a non-fiction book, a biography of someone's life, you begin to understand almost everything that there is to know about them. The way that they were brought up, what stages they met in their career, and why they reached the point that they're at now. Yet because we buy the book, that doesn't mean that the person who wrote it now knows who we are. We begin to feel a sense of closeness with the person. We can feel sympathy and empathy for their situations. We can also feel invested in their actions and their progress. We want them to do better because we feel personally invested in what they are doing. To take this a step further, actors are praised for playing another person. It's very common for a character within a soap or a TV show to be heavily criticised for their behaviours because of the way that it's been portrayed by the actor and the writers. And that actor is then in public, they can sometimes get messages and comments from people based on the character that they're playing. Not based on who they are, but based on the character that they have been contracted to play. They've played them that well that we have a sense of hatred towards them. Or love, it goes the other way as well. Like I say, the other side of the relationship is non-existent. Despite our increasing obsession with public figures, think the Kardashians or the cast of Made in Chelsea, this bears no representation of their awareness of our presence in their life. According to Dunbar's numbers, we can have 150 close relationships and about 500 acquaintances at any given time. And if you're reaching capacity, someone has to leave for someone else to come in. You're quite often not aware of that, but it's very difficult to keep track of more than that 650 people. I want to take a look at Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham's Instagram following is 38.4 million people. How many people does he follow in return? 808. So even by Dunbar's numbers, Jude is very much pushing the boundaries of how many people he can keep in touch with based on his Instagram following. And that's just his following count. Now we look at the 38.4 million people that are following him. That far, far exceeds not only the acquaintance number, but think about the 150 meaningful contacts number. He's surpassed that 10, 100,000 times. For context, 38.4 million people is like having the whole of Poland following you. We can see from this example, 38.4 million versus the 808, that for every one person that Jude Bellingham follows, 47,500 people follow him. Just think about that one-sidedness of that relationship. Daniel Priestley has a 7-11-4 formula for building relationships with people. He says that you need 7 hours of interaction across 11 different interactions in 4 different contexts. The 7 hours is nice and easy. You have to spend 7 hours worth of time with that person. 11 interactions is 11 different points where that 7 hours is made up. So it might be that you read someone's book and it could take you 7 hours, but it's broken up into 11 different reading sessions. And then there's the four contexts, 4 different contexts for those interactions. So it might mean that you listen to someone on a podcast and then you read their book and then you spend some time with them in person in a one-to-one meeting. It might be that you email them or text them. It's just 4 different ways of being in communication with someone, or potentially 4 different locations. It could be 4 in-person conversations, but one happens at their workplace, one happens at your workplace, and 2 happen at different networking events. So let's think about in-person relationships. It might be your friend or someone at work. To build that 7 hours, there's 14 hours worth of commitment there, because there's 2 people that have to spend that 7 hours with each other. It's 14 hours of time. Yeah, when you look at someone like Jude Bellingham, where he's got 38.4 million people, he puts in one lot of 7 hours across multiple things. It might be a book, it might be a podcast. Those 38.4 million people, that 7 hours is split across them. So he can quite easily build a parasocial relationship with someone, and he doesn't have to put in any more effort for the first person than he did for the second or the third or the fourth. It's now so easy to become bonded or attached to someone because we've spent 7 hours with them watching podcasts, listening to podcasts, reading a book, letting them into our lives. With this attachment comes expectation. See, when we spend time with people in person, we build expectations of them based on the conversations that we've had, the behaviours that they've displayed. You become to know what you can expect from that person. The brain isn't clever enough to realise that someone through a screen isn't the same as someone we've spent time in person with. And so we have the same level of expectations of people that we've seen on the news all of the time or read their book as the people that we spend time with in person. And this is where suddenly there can be an explosion of public backlash when someone goes and does something that doesn't meet the expectations of all of their fan base. Think of sports stars that suddenly up and leave their teams to go and join a rival. Think influencers that don't meet their regular scheduling for uploading. Suddenly everyone's in the comments, oh, where's this video? Where's that video? You've built an expectation for them that they aren't necessarily aware of. And have you ever tried to meet the expectation of more than one person at a time? It's really fucking difficult. Now imagine trying to meet the expectations of 38.4 million people all at the same time. It's impossible. There's only so much information and understanding that you can get through a screen. Social media for a long time has been discussed as being a highlight reel for people's lives, and people will only share the good things that are happening. It's completely understandable. I don't want to share all of the bad things that are happening. I only want to share the nice things. But that means that when we build these expectations based on following someone for a long time, we don't necessarily understand what's going on in their lives. They might have health issues that they aren't sharing. They might have family issues that they're not sharing. And this goes alongside the public backlash. If someone doesn't meet an upload schedule, or they decide to join a rival team, it might have no bearing on the current situations and their loyalty to their fans. It might be that they're just going through something and can't put in the time that they previously have. And this is where the parasocial relationships can be quite difficult, because we expect what we're seeing all of the time to be the norm. And if someone goes against that, it's very difficult to comprehend without having an explanation. But these people don't owe you anything. They haven't built trust with you in the way that you have trust in them. You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Anyone who has been in the self-improvement kind of sphere for any reasonable amount of time will have heard this quote many, many times. The idea is that if you want to improve, you change the circle that you're in. The 5 people that you spend the most time with should be pushing you to be better. Equally, if you need to relax a bit more and you need some more caring people in your life, change the 5 people around you to be more caring, and you should start to feel a bit better about yourself. How does that fit in with parasocial relationships? Well, the power of parasocial relationships is the fact that we can now talk to people or spend time with people that wouldn't have been accessible to us 20 years ago. We can now watch conversations between business owners. We can now listen to founders or read books from founders of companies that are doing what we want to do without needing to sit in a meeting room and sit face to face with them to get their advice. Do you remember how I said that the brain isn't intelligent enough to understand that someone through a screen isn't the same as someone in person? Well, that we can play to our benefit. We can make someone that is inspiring and is where we want to be in the future one of our 5 people. We can start listening to their audiobooks. We can start watching their interviews with people, understanding their mind, hearing their advice, and take it on into our own lives so that we can better ourselves. There's been many times where I've found a person that has a particular character trait that I'm really interested in developing in myself, and for the next 2 weeks I'll become completely obsessed with them, and I will spend every spare moment listening to them talk and trying to understand where that trait came from so that I can develop it in myself. I think about my time in every day. I spend an hour to an hour and a half in the gym every day. I'd spend about 40 minutes driving to and from work. I then have my evenings where if I'm not doing anything, I have up to 4 or 5 hours of free time where I can spend doing what I like. Suddenly, Daniel Priestley's 7 hours worth of time to spend with someone to be influenced by them can be removed within a day or 2. All of a sudden, I feel attached to this person to the point where I can predict the words that they're going to say in the next interview. I understand their challenges from before based on what they've said, and I can now put their mistakes into my book of things not to do, so that in the future I can almost bypass their mistakes to be a better me without having to take exactly the same route. And in this time, they've become one of my 5 people, and my life will have changed thanks to meeting them. Parasocial relationships can be rewarding. They can also have negatives. What's important is that we understand what role they play in our lives and what effect they have on our mindset. If you can use them for the right reasons, they can build you up. If you're not aware of them and you face the effects of them, they can very much bring you down. Thank you for watching this video. I like to delve into topics like this on this channel. So if you're interested, please hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.